Okay, Magic Makers. Today I want to talk about the 5 things that are keeping the weight on you over 40. And, I was, going through, think about this podcast and I was like, okay, what do I like? What are the conversations I regularly have with my clients? Like, what are the themes, the issues, the challenges, the obstacles that are always seems to resurfacing? And many of you are that very special snowflake. You are, but I always seem that we always seem to, run down the same path. Okay, and so the first thing I see regularly is that you aren't clear, right? You are not clear about what it is that you're trying to achieve, or you're clear for today, and then 2 weeks from now it's something else because life got in the way, and maybe you realize you bit off more than you could chew. But it's really sitting down and just getting so crystal clear. This is what I want. And so I want you to think about the best way I can describe clarity is that, have you ever bought a house? Okay. And so I remember when my husband and I were buying our first house, and the real estate agent we were working with, she said, okay, guys, that's great. Glad you want to buy a house, but I want you to get really specific about what it is that you're looking for, and, write it all out. Like, how many bedrooms are you looking for? What is the ideal layout that you want? What's the neighborhood that you want to live in? How many bathrooms do you want? What is your price range, right? So that literally it was like, we're writing every single thing down. This is what I want. 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 So that when she's, culling through the listings, she, what it could bubble up that, oh, this is the house that Kim and Philip are interested in, or this is the house that, some other client is interested in. And I feel that so many of my clients, they come to me and they're like, oh, I want to lose weight. Okay, how much are you looking to lose? Well, like 5 to 10 pounds. And most of you aren't looking to lose weight. Most of you are looking to change your body composition. And so what is your ideal body composition? What are you looking for? Is it that you're trying to come down 1 or 2 dress sizes? Is it that you want to look in the mirror and have a flat-ish belly? Are you looking in the mirror and you want to have reduced cellulite? What is it that you're looking for, so that when you're working with a coach, or even for yourself, when you get there, right? I use GPS all the time as an example. In my GPS, I have to specifically put down 1, 2, 3 Main Street. Right. If I just put down Main Street, depending on how long Main Street is, I always talk about there's a place here in Massachusetts called Mass Ave. Mass Ave goes through, 4 towns. 4 towns Mass Ave goes through. I could end up down in downtown Boston, or I can end up in Lexington, start of the revolution, based on the address that I pop into the GPS, right? So I want you to really also think about another thing that just popped into my head. Think about streets, right? So there is a Sydney Street in Cambridge. There's one in Brookline. There's one in there's another town, Marshfield, right? So either one of those, if I don't type in the right address, I can end up in the wrong place. So the first part is like getting so clear about what it is that you want. So it's like, I want to, because when I'm clear, then I could develop the action steps that I need to take. And we'll talk about that a little bit later here in this podcast. But it's like, I want to get clear. So let's just say this, right? One of the things I work with women on is reducing belly fat, right? As we get over 40, our hormones get a little wonky and the belly seems to hang on to a lot more weight than we want it to. So I work with women on belly fat. So let's say, okay, I want to reduce my belly fat. Awesome. Okay. That's something that we can measure, right? We could take a picture on day 1, we can measure our bellies, and we can use the circumference of where we are right now. We could also look and say, like, can I see my, even if you have an innie, like how innie is your belly button, right? Um, does your belly hang over your pants, right? Those are things that we can take pictures of, and we can start to have assessments as to what is going on. So that's getting clear. Like, I want to lose my belly fat. I want to lose, X number of inches around, around my belly. We can clearly measure that. So the second place comes is that we have to stop living on autopilot. And I see it all the time. That is just like, we just work like this. You get up, you've been working out the same. You've been working out the same. You've been eating the same. You've been, sleeping the same. And, maybe you've been telling yourself the same story. Oh, whew, it's really busy with work right now. Once work settles down, I can get back into my routine. The kids just got out of school. Or the kids are doing this. Once they get settled in their routine, trust me, I'm right back in it. All right. And sometimes our current health and fitness routine just isn't giving us the results we want. Like, you are finding yourself stuck in the same rut, eating the same foods, doing the same workouts, and not seeing any real changes in your body. And it's frustrating, right? Clients going to be like, Kim, like, what the hell? Like, what the fuck? Like, why isn't anything changing? And even though you are working hard, you're like, it's still not enough. Well, here's the thing. To see a change, I have to make a change. Something has to change. Our bodies are so adaptable. Whatever you're doing, your body's like, girl, I know exactly what you do. When we go to the gym at this time, we get on this treadmill, we lift this amount of weight, we do the same damn shit. And so here's where you have to look at yourself and kind of break it apart. And I'm going to be honest, and this is what I do for a living, but I have to say this because I know that I've done this myself, is that whenever I feel stuck in a rut, I hire a coach. And I hire a coach because I can't see the trees for the forest. Because in my head, I am eating right. I am working out right. I'm doing all the things. But the last time I hired a coach, probably about a year ago, she pointed out I was eating too much healthy food. Boom, right? There was nothing on my food log that was like, I wasn't going out and, drinking too much. I wasn't eating, chips and salsa and guacamole. I wasn't doing that. I was just eating too much healthy food. Now, would I figure that out on my own? Maybe, maybe not. But I needed someone to be like, girl, you're eating too much. All right. So that's one thing. Second is, I was pretty much doing the same styled workouts that I've been doing for the last 15 years. And one of the things that she mixed up and was full body workouts. Right. I've been doing body part split workouts since the beginning of time, since 2001. 2001, I started doing body weight split workouts, right? 2001. I now do full body workouts, right? I do full body workouts, to do metabolic workouts, all combined together. And so, or if I do body part splits, it's upper body one day, lower body the other day. It's no longer, what bodybuilders do. And that was another change that my body needed. The other change was, I had to make sure that every time I did strength training, that I was really challenging myself with the weights, that the last few reps felt challenging but doable. And my friend Jessica, she describes it as death plus 3, right? The last 3 reps of every set that you do, it feels challenging, right? That it feels like, with good form, it feels like, you know what, this weight I chose, I'm feeling challenged with the weight. And as people ask me, well, what weight should I start with? Again, it all depends, right? But in my membership, I give a new workout every single month. And, by the end of the month, out of the, 5 to 6 different exercises that I give you, at least one of those exercises ideally will have shifted a weight, be it, 2 pounds above what you were doing when you started the month. And so that way, it's progressive overload, right? And so I know a lot of you, COVID made us all a little cuckoo, But many people are just hopping from one workout to the next workout to the next workout. But I will challenge anybody on random workouts versus progressive overload workouts. What's going to give you the results that you want? And I will die on the hill that progressive overloading your workouts will give you better, long-lasting results. And what progressive overload workouts look like is that every single month you might have very similar workouts. So you might be doing a chest press month 1. Next month, you might be doing an incline chest press. Month 3, you might be doing a chest press again, but now you're doing it with the dumbbells so that you're working the same muscles in a similar fashion, but it is a way to help hit the muscles in different ways, but at the same time, build strength in a progressive pattern. So here's where, we have to be getting back to the basics, right? And so the basics for a lot of people, boring. But boring gets results. Boring is the consistency that so many of you need, and so it's coming back to the basics. And when I come back to the basics, how I talk about that Fit Girl Magic formula. I start with great habits that leads to a routine that leads to consistency that leads to results, right? If I'm able to follow that formula, I'm going to have the results that I'm looking for. So it can be as simple as making sure you're getting in enough protein, making sure you're getting in your fruits and vegetables, looking at your sleep, looking at your self-care. Are you taking rest days? Are you getting your ass to bed? Are you stressed like a mofo? Are you like, that's just how life is? I don't worry, I'm going to get to it. Bullshit, right? You are never going to get to it unless you make it a priority. And so, and here's where I'm going to say, not everything can be a priority. I challenge my clients, pick something that feels challenging but doable. Right now, I've had this, I always, challenge them to get their non-negotiables, right? It's things that you can do regardless of what's going on in your life, regardless if it's busy, regardless if the kids are doing anything, regardless if your spouse is doing anything, vacation, so forth. And so one of the new things I'm working on is that I'm trying to have 5 to 6 cups of vegetables every single day. And so I'm not, diving into the fruits and vegetable pool. I'm like, okay, girl, right now, I looked at where I am. Well, right now I'm between 3 or 4 cups. And I'm like, okay, so let's get solid on 4 cups, right? Once I get solid on 4 cups, we'll move to 5, then we'll move to 6. But I'm not going to be like, I need to do 6, because I'm that girl who's like, if I tell myself I'm going to do 6 and I don't do 6, I get pissed at myself. I'm like, oh my God, I suck. Should I be even be doing this? I'll start again on Monday. Does this sound like anyone? Bueller, right? So these are the things that where it's like, I want you to have that beginner's mind. We all can't be experts, Back in school, you showed up at kindergarten and you colored. You didn't be like, so I've been coloring since I was 3. Can we jump ahead to like that advanced calculus shit? Like, I got places to be. You're 5 years old. Where the fuck do you need to be? So you need to start to think to yourself, how do I get back to my basics? Like, feel into like where you want your life to be. And, one of my clients said to me, she's like, Kim, I just don't want to think anymore. Like, I feel like I'm always thinking. I feel you. I absolutely feel you. And so in order to get to that point where to feel effortless, right? I got to go through the suck. I can't skip the suck. I have to start with, and I'll talk about this in the next one. I got to start looking at, actually not the next one. I have to start looking at start looking at my behaviors and my habits, right? Because that's what's going to make it start to feel effortless. And so I wish I was one of those people who, like, I wish I was like an antibiotic, right? That says in 14 days, it's no longer going to burn when you pee. I want to be able to say that to you. But, we all come to nutrition workouts with our own damn baggage, right? We all have some of us have a little cute little like crossover. Some of us got a gosh darn steamer trunk full of past diet trauma that have been inflicted on us, either self-inflicted or, from friends, family, diet culture, social media have been inflicted on us that we have to work to frickin' unpack that so much. So here's where the fourth one here is we have to believe, right? Believe that it's possible. And I know that at the beginning of this journey, I want us to think about where walking through a forest. And for some of you, the forest is thick. Like the trees are so close together that feel like you have to turn sideways in order to get through that. But what I know, and we can go back to the hypnosis podcast that I did with Julie Costa, is that we run on autopilot, right? 95% of our actions are just boom, boom, boom. We're doing them and not even really realizing we're doing that, doing them. I mean, think about it. How many of you drive to work and you're driving and sometimes you're just so, deep in your thoughts that you get maybe halfway there, or you pull in the parking lot and you're just like, gosh, wow, I got here. And you don't remember driving there because it's just what you do. It's like, it's just what you do. But also there are things that we have, like these hidden scripts that are running behind the scenes that are replaying things we've done in the past. I was just at a talk, and it was, talking all about like your hidden self. And the facilitator, he was saying that, we all have, I'm going to use the word trauma, but, it's funny because before that, I always thought of trauma as this really like, tragic thing. And he says we have 3 levels of trauma. And when something happens to us, we imprint it in our brain. And there's like 3 levels of it. And depending on how, traumatic the event was, it can just kind of sit like just below the surface. And so one of the traumas is that maybe someone told you about your weight, right? I went to a camp. I used to work at a camp every year for over a decade. And this woman, she was like in her 40s or 50s. And she said, when I was 5 years old, this kid called me fat on the playground. Here it is 30 plus years later. And she always has been reliving what this little kid said to her. And she doesn't even know what this little kid is, right? She, of course, we all remember, that person who was mean to us, remember their first and their last name, right? We're like, Jimmy Smith told me on the playground I was a fatty boomalati. And that's the trauma that's been running in our mind, that, I can't lose the weight because Jimmy Smith told me I was fat. And that has been playing in the background of our mind, that on her like mind radio, that's been playing in the back of our mind. And some of us have that, right? Some of us have that, or, oh, girl, you've tried dieting so much before. Why are you even trying? Do you think it's going to work? And those are the hidden scripts, those hidden stories that we keep telling ourselves, even though we might not be conscious of us saying it, it's playing back there. And so every time you try and you fail, it's your body's way of saying, I want to try to protect you, because, the 2 things that psychologically, the 2 things that humans desire, right, when it comes to change: safety and certainty. I want to feel safe. And, your body or your mind doesn't know the difference between you being hit by a car or saving you from your critical thoughts. Like there's no real difference in your brain about that. And so if you are like, that person on the playground told me I'm fat, your body's like, and you felt really bad. You're like, he made you cry at 5 years old. Your body's like, we don't want to go through that again. That sucked, right? So we want to keep you safe. So we don't want to ever put you in a situation that you would ever be called something. And so your body, like, that's kind of that pull that we kind of get into that self-sabotage state of mind. And so I want you to kind of like, once I kind of just like raise an awareness, I want you to kind of think about like some of the stories that you might be telling yourself. That's why you can't, be consistent. Why I can't, consistently have this workout program or eat a certain way or sleep or, make time for myself. Like, am I telling myself these stories because there was something that may have happened in the past? Or is it that I don't think, right? I don't believe that it's possible for me, that I think that I'm like, it's too hard, or it must look a certain way. Or you're unsure that if I do so, I say that let me just rewind. Etch a sketch. So I say there's like 4 kind of mindsets when it comes here, is that we have the people who think they're so rigid. They're like, I must work out this way. I had a client when she first came to me. She was like, Kim, I eat this way, right? She was very regimented. She was like, these are my 5 meals, and she's been eating the same way for decades. And I was like, and you're just like, my body's not changing. She's been eating and working out the same exact way. I'm like, she's like, my body's not changing. And I was like, well, girl, and you've heard me say before, and I will say again, to see a change, you have to make a change, right? Your body adapts, right? Your body is so adaptable, it's ridiculous. And I said, something has to change. And I said, it could be changing up your meal parts, right? And I was like, have breakfast for dinner, have dinner for breakfast, right? It was just like, change something up so that your body isn't like, we have oatmeal with berries and protein powder, then we have chicken, broccoli, and brown rice, then we have a yogurt with berries, then we have a protein and a green vegetable and a starch, right? Your body's just like, I know exactly what's coming. Change something up. Change the flavor profile. Instead of have chicken, can you have beef? Can you have shrimp? Can you have fish? Instead of yogurt, can we change that and have tuna? Can we change, instead of having oatmeal, can we instead have eggs? Like, so there's some little nuance that changes in our nutrition. And so many people are like, when I say variety, many of you get all freaked out, like thinking that I must have a different meal all the time and be Martha Stewart. No, I'm saying stop going to the grocery store and buying the same shit week after week after week after week. I'm asking you to go to the grocery store, and if last week I bought cucumbers, this week buy carrots. If last week I bought butternut squash, this week buy beets. If last week I bought coconut oil, this week buy flaxseed. And now you're going to be like, I'm single, I live by myself, I didn't finish all that. I will never ask you to waste food. What I'm saying is, the next time you go to the goddamn grocery store, stop buying the same shit. If you are not out of that coconut oil, use that shit until it's done, then buy the flaxseed. All right. That's what I'm saying. It's like, again, autopilot. I always buy coconut oil. I always buy olive oil. Stop it. Like, buy something different every time you need to replace something. That's it. Now, does it have to be radically different? When I was regularly coaching my competition girls, and I still, my regular non-competition girls, I say, come up with 2 to 3 menus, 2 to 3 weekly menus. And it's basically, you buy this one week, you buy that the next week, you buy that the third week. And I'm just constantly rotating through 3 menus, right? Because it's like, it just makes it a little bit easier for you. And but there might be some overlap, but there also is some changes. Because if I look in the mirror and I am not changing, something has to change. And again, you don't need to do this on your own. Like, you can raise your hand and be like, hey girl, hey, I don't know what to do. Great. Like, ask for help. Like that. So many people are afraid to ask for help, because it's like, this is how I think it has to do. Second is resistance. The other mindset that comes up is that resistance. And so it's like, I know that my body's not changing. I hear you, Kim. I absolutely hear you. However, there's a story in my head that says, what if it doesn't work? What if I do something different that doesn't work? Well, this is what I'm going to tell you. Guess what? You can always go back to what you were doing, right? Give it a shot. And I ask you to give it a shot for 60 days. 60 days, like in a true shot, not like a half-ass shot. Like use your whole ass. Use your whole ass on this one. You know, the example I give here is a GPS. I use Waze, right? I use Waze all the time. I live in Boston and traffic sometimes just blows chunks. And I use Waze just to like get around the traffic, or at least know how long it's gonna take me to get somewhere. Because I'm always kind of playing beat the clock when I'm trying to get places on time. So resistance mindset is that you're driving down the highway, going to grandma's house, and you've been going to grandma's house forever, and this is the route that you go. Waze says, hey, traffic is building ahead. Get off in 2 exits. And you're like, ooh, I've never gotten off on that exit. I don't even know where that exit takes you. I don't even know what town I'm in if I get off on that exit. Here's the question. If you have a resistant mindset, you don't get off. You're like, this is the way I go. I know if I go this way, it might take me a little longer to get to grandma's house. I'm going to stick with what I know versus, you know what? I hate traffic and I'm going to get off in 2 exits and see what happens. Like bless and release. Right. So that's a resistant mindset. It's just like, even though there is a different way, you're going to stick with what you know. Third one is that roadblocks, right? Shit is always going to happen. And if you tell yourself shit isn't going to happen, you're lying. You know, and what it's life, right? So here is where I ask you to say, what always pops up? What are the things that always derail you? And for many of us, we know the things that derail you. You know what's going to derail you. You know that when summer comes, the kids' schedule gets out of whack. So can we be more proactive with that schedule and say, we know the camps that they're attending or the different activities. Can we start to take a look and say, okay, how can I fill in the gaps with my time? How can I work their schedule around my schedule so that, you know, I can find time to work out. I can find time to make that meal. You know, how can I start to be more proactive than reactive in this case, so that I'm able to work with the schedule changes. You know, same thing with work. You know, we all know those times when, you know, it gets busy. Okay, what am I going to do? So that we all start to think in a proactive way. How do I navigate the busy? How do I navigate when, you know, a schedule change? I had a client and she's one of my like most dedicated planners. Like she's a better planner than I am. And she, you know, sits down and she's like, these are my meals, these are my workouts. She's such, you know, very like structured. And when she first started working with me, her husband is that spontaneous guy. He comes home and he's like, hey, it's a nice day outside. We should go eat out at the blah, blah, blah restaurant. Or, I'm driving home and I have a hankering for, you know, Greek food. And it used to make her so crazy because she was that planner. And she's like, on the schedule we are going to have salmon, and you're saying you want to go out for Greek food, or you're saying that you want to go out to this restaurant or order a pizza. And she's just like, it used to make her so crazy. And so we worked together to have, like, when your husband comes home and makes these requests, how can you roll with the punches without going like, oh my God, well, what am I going to eat? Like, without having these, like, you know, kind of like these like heart palpitations around that. And that's where we have to start to kind of like have that structured flexibility. break free of that perfection that like your schedule sometimes isn't going to go the way it goes. And so, we started, really kind of like having having her be a little looser, right? Versus holding on so tight that if she felt like if she let go, she was screwed. And, how many of you listening here feel that way, that if you let go of your reins, you're screwed? And so I want you to start to say, like, what would that look like for me? What would it look like if I just let go? And not in a like, going off like the fuck it, rabbit hole, but like just like not white knuckle it, but just like hold it on like a normal person. And then finally, you get to the point where the mindset of like, you know what, I want it to be easy. And you're chasing what easy feels like. And that's freedom. And I will be the first person to admit, it's taken me a long time to get here. It's taken me a long time to get to the freedom part, that I'm not freaking out when I travel, that I'm not freaking out if there is a schedule change. I'm not freaking out about my workouts. I did a whole podcast, basically like blowing myself up, talking about what my old thoughts were. I will link that in the show notes if you haven't listened to that podcast. So before I get down another rabbit hole, I wanted to talk about Ted Lasso. Right, Ted Lasso is one of my favorite shows, and I like it because sports has so many crossovers into the nutrition world, because it is all mindset. I as an athlete, I need to go into a game saying I'm going to win. I can't go into a game and be like, can I win? Maybe I can win. Is it possible? Like, you need to go in like you are the champion, even if it is game 1 of your season versus game 101. Go in like, I am a champion. And, I live in Boston. Boston is such a sports town. And there's so many like comeback stories from Boston sports. And primarily, like, if it wasn't for the 2004 Red Sox, I don't know if you and I would be having this conversation right now. And so that's when I really kind of just said anything's possible, right? After 86 freaking years, the Red Sox win the World Series. And so that was just my anything's possible. So Ted Lasso, very similar, like very like mindset-y. And so I'll link the clip in the show notes. But basically, it's he in the show. One of the first things he did as the coach of the team, in handwriting on like a poster board, just like like a 5th grader would do, he wrote the word believe and stuck it up. It's crooked and it's in the locker room. Right. And so he talks in the video, he talks about how like someone ripped the sign. And everyone was like, we're jinxed because someone ripped the sign. And then he talked about like why it's not a jinx, and just goes through this whole diatribe about like, it's you, right? You have to believe in you. It's not some sign that's on the board. It's not some vision board that you have. It is you looking at that and being like, embodying it. Is you say, like, putting it in your mind like a movie, like, yes, I can have that flat belly. I can drop those 2 dress size. I can stop eating like an asshole. Like, telling yourself, I can. And so this video, it's just so like powerful. And so many times, I'll tell you, like, sometimes my mindset up and down, right? Sometimes I'm like, who the hell am I? And I have a whole list of like YouTube videos that I just, whenever I need that kick in the tush, I watch it and I'm like, all right, girl, let's go. Or music, like if they're just like, there's like a playlist that I have that I'm like, boom, all right, this is get shit done music. And so think to yourself, like, how do you become your own hype girl, right? How do you hype yourself up that you are just like, yeah, athletes, whenever you see athletes like walking in, they're showing the athletes like walking into the arena, getting ready for the game, they all have headphones on. All of them, all have headphones on, and I guarantee you they're all listening to something that's their like, yeah song, right? Whenever you go to a Red Sox game here, all of the players have their own personal walk-up song, like the song that's like, this is the song that's gonna have me get a home run. This is the song that's gonna have me, if there's a guy on third, have me bring him home. Like we all have that song. So I want you to think like songs, YouTube videos, like what hypes you up so that on those days that you're just like, ugh, this you're like, all right, I need my hype song, I need my hype video, and then you're just like ready to go. And so when here's in the belief stage, right? We have to, I've got clear, right? I'm clear, like I want a flat belly. Boom. All right, that's my clarity. That's my destination. I popped into my GPS. Now, what are the actions that I have to take that to get there? Right. So your actions are your habits and your behaviors. Okay. So let me just give you a definition of like what the two, how the two are different, but then how the two are intertwined. First, behavior. That is your response to your environment. So it's in your conscious mind, right? So think about like this. Maybe you weren't thinking about coffee, but you see someone drinking coffee. You're like, yeah, that feels good right now. Or maybe it's the other way. See someone having a glass of wine. That feels good right now. That's a behavior. You see something in your environment and you react to it. So it is a conscious thought. Habits are unconscious thoughts, right? So I use this all the time for habits because it's the most blatant thing I could think of. When you brush your teeth, do you know if you put water on the toothbrush, then brush your teeth? Or do you just put toothpaste right on the brush and have at? Do you wash your face, then brush your teeth? Or do you brush your teeth, then wash your face? Do you put cream in your coffee first? Or do you put sugar in your coffee first? Like those are things that are just, it's automatic, right? Those are habits. They're automatic and they're done at your subconscious level. So the focus is to be able to start doing things in your conscious brain that eventually will just become what you do. And it now is a habit. So that's, in what I talk about the non-negotiables. Right now, my habit is 3 to 4 vegetables. And so consciously, I'm adding in an extra cup, right? So I'm only adding in an extra cup. That's what I'm doing on a conscious level. But the 3 to 4 are normally happening without me thinking about it. And so before I started, this cups of vegetables, the other things I was trying to put into my habit hat was and I this is the first time in like in probably 6 years that I'm adding on to my non-negotiables. And I was like, I've been talking about non-negotiables for so long. I'm like, it's time that I started something new so I can share with you. Like, it ain't easy. Like I know, like I'm not gonna wake up tomorrow and be like, it. I got 5 vegetables, but if we come back in 30 days, I know that I'm not going to come back to you and say in 30 days from now and say, guess what, guys? I hit all my vegetables every single day. I'm not going to say that to you. And I'm not, and I'm not saying it to be in a belief. I'm saying is that I used to fall into that trap that if I didn't hit my 5 cups every single day, I sucked. No, I know that it's not impossible, but I'm going to strive for my good, better, best, right? I'm going to strive for 50% of the month. Can I hit that 4 to 5 vegetables, right? Can I hit 5? Like, so good, better, best. Best, 30 out of 30, 5 vegetables. Better, 4 out of 5. Good, 3 out of 5, right? So it's like, I'm giving myself, I'm giving myself grading on the curve. Like I'm not going for the A++. I'm going to go for the B-, right? The B- is getting 5 vegetables in, 4 vegetables in, right? So here is where we have to, our thoughts are we're more mindful of these thoughts, right? So that when we're thinking about what it is that I'm choosing, right? to get basic, to get consistent, to just, get to that like effortless way, I have to ask myself, how do I respond, right? Am I that person who like, there's a book called from Brian Tracy called Eat the Frog. Am I someone who eats the frog? And in the book, Eat the Frog, he is like, do the hard stuff first, right? Do your hard stuff first. Or am I that person who's like, I like checking the boxes. And so I'm going to do something that feels challenging, but doable, right? So for me, challenging, but doable feels like adding that extra cup. And then I'm going to add the extra cup. But I'm asking you, when you are thinking through this, right? Think it through, not in a way of like, I gotta nail it. Like I need to do all the things. I want you to be like strategic, like be so like laser focused. Like what is going to feel challenging but doable for me, right? Not like I'm going to pick the hardest thing so I can prove to myself I'm a badass. Like that's a story, right? So like now we're just trying to reframe that story in our mind so that it comes down to trusting that what I decided on, what I got clear on, I can do. And, I know you've all heard me say this, like make a decision to make it work, right? So here's in the trust part, here's where I trust that I've made a decision and I can make it work. Like that's where the trust comes. And to do that, I must stay in the present moment. I got to go back to my actions and say, okay, to have a flat-ish stomach, here are the actions I need to take. And then I write them all down, right? Just write them all down. Just sit down, brainstorm. Here are all the things, right? Then ask myself, of all the things, what feels challenging but doable, right? Because maybe you're already exercising. Great, awesome. How many days are you doing that? Maybe you're already eating great. Awesome. Start a food log and take a peek and say, am I eating as well as I think I am? Right? Because I always ask you to use, I always use the Arthur Ashe poem, like start where I am. I have to do an assessment. It can't just be like, I'm just going to cut all this shit out. Where the hell are you? Right? It's like, again, GPS. I can't be like punching and stuff if I'm like, I don't know where I am. Like, I'm like, where am I? So that we can decide, maybe I'm already where I want to be. Maybe I'm not. So start where you are, use what you got. So if it requires you to like buy all this stuff, ask yourself, what can I do now? Like right now, without being like, oh, when I get this or when the kids, like, no, what can I do with right now? And be okay with it, right? So I'm gonna I'll put the Arthur Ashe poem in there because that's another one of my touchstones when I'm feeling like I gotta go. And with that said, let me just say this one thing. You are not behind. I don't know who told you that. I don't know who needs to hear that, but you are not behind. That's one of the things I regularly hear. Oh my God, I'm so behind. Behind who? Who are you behind? Point them out. Run your own race. Everyone here works at their own works at their own pace. And I use this example, and I think it works really well. I want you to think about a highway. Here on the East Coast, most of our highways are 3 lanes. So that left lane, far left lane, is the speed lane. I'm just gonna punch that gas. I'm gonna go as fast as I can and keep my fingers crossed. I'm not gonna get a ticket. Some of you feel comfortable in that fast lane. Then we have the middle lane, right? This feels good. This feels nice. It's steady. And from time to time, I can speed up and go around someone. I can slow down so I can move left. I can move right, depending on my life. Then we have other people who are like, you know what? I've done fast. I've done middle, and they both have just fried me. I'm going to stick with the slow lane. Great. Awesome. Pick that lane that works for you. Like And the old adage, stay in your lane, stay in your lane, stay in your lane. So that way you don't feel behind, right? Put on the blinders, like the horse, excuse me, there's a horse-drawn carriages, and the horses have the blinders on, so that the horses aren't, distracted by stuff. Put on your blinders and be like, I'm clear about what my goals are. Here are my actions. This is what I'm doing, right? This is what I'm doing. I'm doing it, giving myself 30 to 60 days of consistent actions, and then reassessing, right? There's always has to be a reassessment, but the reassessment has to be at a time frame that makes sense. And most of us will change our bodies within 4 to 6 weeks. So that's why I say at least 60 days. Do a little mini assessment 30 days in. Maybe it's too hard. Maybe it's too easy, right? But do a mini assessment, and then we can do the full assessment after 60 days. And so like I said, the final thing is trust. I have to trust. And to do that, I have to stay in the present moment, and I have to ask myself daily questions. What am I doing on a daily basis to get me to my goal? And am I saying work out every day? No, I'm not saying work out every day. I'm not saying that every day has to be a spot on day with your nutrition. I'm asking you, what are the steps you need to take? And that, you identify that. And that's the beauty. When I work with clients, I'm like, you are the captain, right? You are directing where the ship goes. I am just the tour guide. And I will tell you, hey, you know what? I hear there's weather coming up. Have you considered maybe wearing an umbrella? Hey, there is, rocks ahead. How are you going to skip over the rocks? Or, hey, have you thought about skipping over the rocks this way? That's what a coach does, is that we help you to navigate around things that we've seen with our other clients, things, research that we've read. And the big thing is the daily actions, right? Everything has to be a daily action. And so one of the things I'm working on this summer, and I'm inviting you to come, is that I'm doing a thing called Operation Consistency. And this is where we nail the basics, right? Doing the boring as fuck things. And so Operation Consistency is a 66-day challenge that combines nutrition, fitness, and lifestyle habits, so that you never have to worry about getting off track. So in the program, we will sit down and be like, what are your basics? You'll get action guides, checklists, weekly emails, just to make sure you develop lifelong habits that become, let's just say lifelong behaviors that become habits, right? And so it starts on June 26th. So I'm going to add the link for you in the show notes so that you can check it out, because, I picked 66 days because, old research said it took 21 days to create a habit. And what we have found, that it's not 21 days to create a habit. It's 66 days to create a habit. So it's almost more than double the amount of time that was originally thought. So I want anyone who's listening here, just to I'd love to hear your feedback on any of this that I've talked about. Are there areas that you feel stuck on? Is there someone who needs to hear this? Please feel free to share that with them. All right, Magic Makers, enjoy the rest of your day, and I will talk to you next week.